Hello, everybody. How are you? So I do weekly forecasts for my membership lounge, and sometimes I'll do them publicly so that I can talk to you guys too. And we're going through something very specific right now as a planet, and the whole of humanity is subject to something really unusual that none of us we've never been through this. I mean, tell me if you have, but this is very unusual. And we're definitely in unknown territory. And that's a very odd place to be completely in the unknown. Feels a very specific way to each individual. How does it feel to you right now? What's going on for you as we go through what's a very observable, unique time in history and in our lives? And as we go through this astrology, and let me talk about the astrology a little bit. So I'm going to tell you a little secret that the only astrologer I really pay attention to, and it's not because I don't like other astrologers, I just don't have a lot of time on my hands, and I tend to just look things up for myself. But the astrologer I pay attention to the most is Stephen Forrest. And he has a really nice blog post about what's going on right now. And he's talking about it from the viewpoint of Eris. So Eris is spelled Eris, and it's out beyond Pluto, kind of in this from I guess in the astronomy world, not really considered a planet. But Stephen was saying that, maybe we ignore Eris at our peril. And then if we consider Pluto a planet as astrologers, certainly we should take Eris seriously. So I encourage you, I'm not going to repeat everything he said, but I encourage you to go read his blog post, his most recent one on Eris, because it's interesting. Now, I look at things from a very kind of coach perspective, psychological perspective, but he'll tell you about Eris and how he sees Eris. What I would add to that is that in human development, evolutionarily, we tend to look at things like Pluto, gods like, I say God not in the sense that it's my God, but like in the myths, the gods, Pluto, Saturn, even Eris. We look at them like it's this other thing out there, like it's this person out there in the sky or in the ether who does stuff to us. And hi, Anita. Let's see. Anita says, 2 days ago, it felt like we were preparing for a major snowstorm. Not so much now. I'm exhausted. Yeah. Well, yes, I'm exhausted too, not due to snowstorms, but just it's exhausting to go through what we're going through right now. We're going to have a whole range of emotions and energy levels, and that's all very normal. Just be very patient with yourself. So anyway, on Eris, what I was saying is evolutionarily, as humans, we tend to look at almost everything dualistically, as it's me and the other. It's me and everything else out there. And I like how Stephen Forrest brought in this concept of Eris. I think it encourages us all to expand our minds and to look at a bigger picture, which I am always for. I'm always happy to do that. But at the same time, I like, hi, Maria, good to see you. I want to encourage us to look at a bigger picture in terms of what our responsibility is as we view anything, really, but even astrology, especially astrology, since that's what we're discussing right now. When you look at Eris, if you read Stephen's write-up, and he talks about Eris and how she was this and she was that. As you know, I've been encouraging you to understand that you are the planets, you are the stars, you are the sun and the moon. They're inside of you. So be careful about saying, well, Eris, he kind of describes her, or mythology kind of describes her as, this disruptor, that she takes pleasure and disruption, and she sounds like a horrible character if you talk about her that way. But what if she's inside of us, we have to look at it differently, yes? What if it's just an energy that can be disruptive? Um, and what if it's needed? What if the disruption is needed? And if we want to think of Eris as an actual, like, personify her and kind of make her more like a human person out there, then why is she like that? Why is she being so disruptive? We have to look beyond the action or the circumstance and look at why. Why is something happening? Why, if there is some disruptive force moving around the planet right now, why? And there is a why, there's something underneath. And it's something that we can look at with compassion and not fear or blame or whatever. We want to begin looking at the kind of world we want. What kind of world do you want to live in? It's worth sitting down right now. Let me tell you, there's a magic, an actual magic in writing. So use the magic of writing. And I encourage you to actually pick up a pen or a pencil and write longhand right now. It might be a nice break from all the screens. We're all getting a lot of screen time. And I'll sound like a mom, but we're getting a lot of screen time these days because it's how we're connecting with the world. But there's actual magic. I think it's probably, there's a scientific way to explain it, but I'm going to say it's magic when you write. So when you write what you want to happen or the way you want things to be, there's a bizarre magic in that. You can actually start to create change in your life by doing so. I encourage all of you to write this week as Saturn moves into Aquarius, where we want to try new things. Anything goes into Aquarius, we want to try new things. And we want to be inventive and create the new. It's the visionary approach. You're the visionary here, just as much as I am or anybody else is. We're the visionaries. Every single one of us is a visionary. And we have visionary powers. Even if we're not out there in a lab somewhere creating something, or, if we're not engineers creating something, we are all visionaries and inventors. You can actually invent a reality by writing it and starting to really focus upon it. So I encourage you, with all this downtime that we have, to really sit down and write longhand about the kind of world you want to live in. Get into some detail, because the world needs you to have this vision, to be clear about the vision of the world you want. So be careful not to start to write about the world you think we have. Be careful not to write about all the bad people out there. You want to write from like you're the author, and your assignment is to create the perfect world for you, what you think would be the perfect world, and from a place of love. So, if you did it kind of tongue-in-cheek means being sarcastic, or like, I'm not really taking this seriously. The perfect world would be if we roped off all those people and shipped them off or shot them off the planet. Don't do that, because the world does not need that. But take it seriously. If I can encourage you to take it seriously, there is actual magic. You can help the world just by envisioning what you want it to be. What kind of world would feel good to you? How would people behave? What would government look like? What would what would we have? Police? Would we have schools? Would we have teachers? Would we have technology? Would we all live in the woods and be barefoot? Like, what is your perfect world? It's your world. You get to decide, but be very visionary about it. And think not just in terms of what you would like and what would work for you, but I encourage you to take it bigger. And like, what would work for your neighbor? What would work for your poorest neighbor? I encourage you to think about others as you envision your perfect world. How would the poorest of the poor and those who are disadvantaged, how would they fit into your world? If it's not just all a middle class or upper middle class world, how would everybody fit in? And how would it all work? Get really clear on that. Play with it. It's a lot, right? It's a lot to think about. It can test you a little bit, but with Saturn going, what we do have going on in a few days is we have Saturn going into Aquarius. We feel it even now. Also, when something is in the latter degrees, when Saturn is in the latter degrees of a sign, as it is in Capricorn right now, we really feel what it wants us to have learned. We really feel the lessons. They're emblazoned in our minds. So as a collective, we're getting a lot of lessons very quickly, like really penetrating lessons as a collective. So as it moves from Capricorn, where it's going to show you, like, boy, if you didn't do long-term planning, are you going to feel it? And we're seeing that as, unfortunately, we're seeing where we didn't do some long-term planning. And we're having to pay some price for that. But there's always hope. And so as Saturn goes into Aquarius, it's our opportunity to be better students, to look at things with a wider lens, to be more inventive, to create from a place of learning and being open-minded. So having learned perhaps some hard lessons over the past 3 years or more, this really shoots back a decade or more in scope because of the presence of Pluto and other things going on. So we, since the last recession, for example, 2008, how did we plan long-term to protect us from something happening again? From the last outbreak of SARS and MERS and all the other, potential pandemics, little inkling, fledgling potential pandemics, what did we learn and what did we implement long-term? Well, we're finding out we didn't do a lot as a society. There was a lot of research done. A lot of people understand a lot about what can happen in an outbreak, for example. So there are a lot of knowledgeable people out there. But in terms of connecting with society and the political machines and corporations and civic community groups, we didn't connect and create long-term planning, most of us. Maybe some communities did, and that's great. But I think a lot of people are finding that they're kind of flat-footed. It's like watching the tsunami approach and just standing there. And even turning away from it to talk to somebody or point at something else. We were kind of caught flat-footed, but there's hope. There's hope to now, with Saturn moving into Aquarius, to be far more visionary. So I encourage you as individuals, like, can you as an individual, can I as an individual change the world right now? No, not in the broader, more practical sense. But I swear to you with everything I know that if you sit down and write about your vision of a world that is humane and just and works beautifully and feels good to you internally, you create a type of magic. So pick up your pen and try the exercise. It may be very soothing and meditative actually to do. It may calm you down. It may work as in many ways. Not only can it work to start to shift the energy of what's actually going on, which I promise you it does. How do I know this? I don't know. It's one of those nether things where you just know. And in coaching, I certainly see the power of doing vision work. There's a lot of power in doing vision work. And with planets such as Neptune, a very visionary, like, kind of spinning your dream into real life kind of planet, Neptune's really making itself known right now. That combined with this kind of amped up energy with Aquarius that's coming in this week, this ability to spin into reality, a new reality is here. It's already happening for us. We have been spun into a new reality, but we can create. We can use Saturn. We can use Neptune to say, okay, we're spinning into a new reality. What can we make it? What can we make of it? How can we make a better reality for all of us? For ourselves, but for all of us. Because we've seen very clearly we're all connected. We can't really just be, a man or a woman on an island or our own family on an island. We are all connected in ways that are, it's being powerfully brought home to us. And that's meant to help us. It's meant to help us see how we are all one. We are connected. That's an exciting thing, actually. That's a bonus. So use the power of your visionary mind this week. I encourage you to do that. Have hope. Having Aquarius activated right now is good for all of us. It's really good for all of us. And having Saturn get that fresh energy is going to be kind of a shot in the arm that we need. And we'll find a lot of new inventions. We'll find new kinds of medicines, new kinds of engineering. You're going to find that people are suddenly very innovative. And that can be across the board. People who owned restaurants maybe they lost their restaurant and their restaurant might go under, are going to become very innovative and turn their skill set into something else. I do predict, it's pretty easy to see, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that there are going to be many changes in the way medicine is delivered and kinds of medicine and the kinds of cures you can get, not just for what's going on now, but for many things. There are going to be different ways of treating things, different engineering, different computing. We're entering a new age, and it's funny how we've jolted into this new reality very suddenly. It feels very sudden because it happened only just over a couple months or a few months. But know that you have all the tools you need to get through it, and know that many people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people have been in crisis before, and you do get to the other side of it. So we're just marching through it right now, but there is another side. We do exit this phase at some point. So know that, and know that you're an inventor too. You are a creator. So I encourage you to envision the world you want right now. There's some powerful energy at work right now that you can capture. So you would be doing not only yourself a service to create your own life, but you would be doing all of us a service if you did that. So anyway, take care, everybody. We're going to get through this week. Mwah. Bye.